Hi, I'm Lorella and I am live tonight. Happy Wednesday. Who do we have? Let me make sure I have my chat turned on. I want to go to all chat and not just top chat. All right. Okay, so we're good there. So who's in the house? Where are you watching from? And what's your weather like? I am coming to you from southern Missouri. It is hot outside today. It's about 90 degrees, clear skies. We are not raining for once. In northern Missouri, they're having massive flooding. I don't know if they still are, but if you check on Farm Alarms channel, they've been showing just horrific flooding that's going on there. Hello, Cheryl. I see you're here tonight. Thanks for popping in. Who else is with us tonight? Where are you watching from? How's your weather? And Cheryl, I saw you guys are having nice weather too. Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca's here on time. Should we do a little happy dance? Look, I have bruises. There. There. I have a big one on my side. I walk into stuff. I don't have a good sense of my own space, my body space. I'm gonna try and tilt this if I can do it without knocking. But I think that's as tilted as it goes. I could lower it a little bit, but then you might be looking at my nose. It kind of already looks like that. I'll try to lean forward. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining in. And Christy's here. Hi. How are you guys doing? It looks like we lost a couple people. Let's see. In Wales, it is not Wales, Scotland. It is, oh, the flooding is terrible. Yeah, it's warm but raining. I saw, sorry. I almost reported Cheryl on accident. I saw that you were showing the geese outside. I saw that, I think, on Instagram today. So are you guys ready to talk about decision making? How's your weather, Rebecca? And Rebecca's watching from Nevada. And Christy, remind me where you're watching from. I know we've talked about it before. I apologize. Tonight we're going to be talking about decision making, the decision making process, and specifically we're going to be talking about a TED Talk that I watched. The speaker was Bill Burnett, and it was called Designing Your Life. Let's see. Oh, Cheryl, you lost 2 of your geese. Oh, that's so sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Christy, how's your weather in Alabama? And it's hot in Nevada finally. We're having nice weather. I have some new chicks, and they've been dying. So I feel you, Cheryl. I'm really sorry. It's so sad when that happens. So I was watching this TED Talk, and he is a professor at Stanford, and he is in this design school. And so he was talking at this TED Talk to, I guess, probably mostly their students. It was at Stanford, and it was like he was talking about the design process and how he has helped students and the public in general apply this design process that they have to their life direction, because as you know, a lot of 20-somethings are in college and they're not sure what direction they're going and they feel stuck. And then a lot of people who are later in life get in that place where they feel stuck too. So that's what we're going to talk about. How do we unstuck our lives? What kind of tools can we apply that he talked about to be able to move forward and make a decision and figure out even what we're going to do or what we want to do. So I know that a couple more people have joined in. So hello, Vicki. I saw that you came in. And so we're going to be talking about that. So let me know if you guys have ever been in a place in your life where you're just like, you know you're at a crossroads, but you don't know which way to go. And maybe you don't even know what the roads are. You don't even know how many roads there are. You just feel like something's got to change, and I'm not sure what direction to go in. Have you guys been in that spot before? I know that we have. When our last year in California, Chris came to me in well, we moved in January, and he came to me the previous January and said, I know you don't like change, but I really feel like we're only going to be in California a short time. So I wanted to give you time to get prepared. And I said, well, where are we going? What are we going to do? And he said, I don't know. And I said, I'm not ready to do an Abraham and Sarah. I haven't heard a word from the Lord that says, step out and go, go. And we have kids and we have responsibilities and I don't deal with change very well. So that was kind of a tough thing for us. And so this topic is very interesting to me. And I see that a lot of you have said yes, that you have been at that place before. And I saw Elizabeth's solution to it is just to buy more rabbits. So that's funny. Yes, so change is constant, but some people have an easier time with it. And then right now also, both my girls are getting ready to leave home and go off to college. And so it was, it's on my mind because, they're both thinking about their life and what's out there, and where their direction is. And so I found this topic very interesting. And he's just a really interesting man to listen to. His speaking style is very enjoyable. So I have a link to that TED Talk that I watched in the description. He actually went through like this 5 steps of the process. I'm not going to talk about all 5 of his design process steps. I just kind of picked out the key things that I found interesting. Most of you guys have been here before. You know that to me, this is like us sitting around a table having coffee, talking about things we're learning and applying in our lives and getting to know one another. So I just picked the parts that I liked, and I want to talk about those because they're kind of cool. I also saw Cheryl came in, a different Cheryl from New Orleans, I believe is what she said. And Smith Family Ranch. Hello, you're joining us. Where are you joining from? And or North Carolina. That might say North Carolina. I probably should put on glasses. Okay. So as we are, well, before I start, I want to make sure that if you want to make sure that I see your comment and it's for me specifically, like a question to me or a comment to me, make sure you put in all caps. I know a lot of times you guys have conversation going on, and I am live tonight from my phone, so I should do a check, make sure everybody can see and hear me. But I think from the answers that you're sending up, you can. So I want to say hi, Grammy Karen. Thank you for joining tonight. And who else did I see come in? I think that's it. Smith Family Farm. So let's see what we've got. Okay. All right. I'm getting the it's all good from Rebecca. Okay, so housekeeping set aside. So we're going to talk about these kind of principles. So if it is your first time hanging out here in one of my live streams, can you give me like a little wave emoji or some kind of a heart or a smiley face in the comments, and I'll see that come through, because I think there's a couple people. I'm not sure if you've all been here on one of my lives before. And because a couple people just joined in, I'm just going to reiterate, for me, I love going live. Our lives right now are not our lives in general, but my live streams tend to be a small number of people, but I feel like you, right now, you're seeing the real me, the real deal. This is me sharing my heart, just like we're sitting down, having a cup of coffee together, out to breakfast. This is the kind of stuff I talk about with my friends. Sometimes it's about my gardening and my homestead, and sometimes, like tonight, it's just about things that I'm learning. I feel that it's important for me to grow as a person, and so I listen to a lot of TED Talks, and I listen to a lot of personal growth type things. And so when I find something interesting, I share with you. And as my girls are getting ready to head off towards college, and they've been thinking about their plans for the future, this TED Talk came up in my playlist, and I found it really interesting. So this comes from Bill Burnett, and the TED Talk is called Designing Your Life. It was at Stanford, and he's a designer, like product design team type guy. So they talk about efficiency of design and the design process. But as he would have office hours with students, or he would talk to different people, and they would often talk about, like, they don't know how to choose where they're going with their life. They don't know how to make decisions. And so they've taken this design process and applied it to a life, and they've actually created a whole course around it. So I've just picked out a couple of the interesting things from his talk that resonated with me, that I really liked, and I want to share those with you tonight. So we will go ahead and get going. And one of the things that he talked about in the beginning were 3 beliefs. He called them dysfunctional beliefs, meaning they're absolutely not true, but that many people hold. And the first one, so tell me if you've ever heard this before. Have you ever heard someone say, if you figure out what you're passionate about, that's what you should do? Right? So are you really passionate about something? Have you guys heard that? I have heard that, and I may have even been guilty of telling my kids, like, I told both of them, I encouraged them to take a gap year. One chose to and one did not, to figure out, go out there, travel, see the world, go on a service trip, do something, and really figure out what lights your interest. And so why he said that that's a fallacy is that it kind of leads you to believe that if you don't have this one passionate thing, then you don't have a purpose. Like there's nothing for you to do. And they did some kind of study, and only 20% of people actually have something that they're absolutely passionate about, like the one thing they really know they want to do this. And so people get stuck because they feel like, well, I don't know what I'm passionate about. So they get trapped by that fallacy. Whereas the reality is there's probably many things that you are interested in and that you could be passionate about, and that you could pursue any one of those and your life be equally fulfilling. You don't have to have just your one passion. All right, I'm gonna take a second and see, because I saw a couple people pop in. Sorry for my finger. I'm on my phone. Let's see, we've got Johnson Family Homestead has come in. Thank you for joining us tonight. Glad you're here. And all right, so that was the first one that he talked about, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. And in life, and what you're passionate about today may not be the same thing you're passionate about later, right? Because I was all about sign language and intercultural mediation and all of that, and now I'm all about farming. In the middle of my life, my husband and I both were like, our passions have changed. So it's kind of interesting. All right, so the second thing that he said was a dysfunctional belief, or something that leads people to be more stuck, is that by some magic point in your life, by 25 years old or by 30 years old, you should know where you're going. You should already have that figured out by now, which really makes it sound like you're late for your own life. So what I want to say to you is, you're not late for your own life. Let's not worry about where you should be or what you should be doing. You are where you are. You are living your life now. Let's talk about the future. So I really liked that he brought that out. And I think that a lot of us fall into that trap, especially in our 20s. Like by the time I got to my 40s, I was like, nobody has it figured out. We're all just doing the best we can with what we have in the moment. So if you are 30 or younger, which some of you are, don't worry. None of us know what we're doing. We're all winging it. We're all doing the best we can. So give yourself grace and give grace to others. Let's see. So I thought that was interesting. And the third fallacy that he talked about, or the third dysfunctional belief is, and he posed it as a question, are you living the best possible version of you? And I thought that's really interesting, because I've heard that, we need to be the best you. Just be the best you can be. That's all you can do, is strive to be your best. And he said this sentence that made me kind of like go, ooh, oh, wow, like it actually made me stop and pause it and think about what he was saying for a second. And I was like, that is so true. So I'm going to read it. I wrote it down. The unattainable best is the enemy of all the available betters. The unattainable best is the enemy of all the attainable betters. So the idea is there's not just one best version of your life. And it's they're in your life. There's many different avenues that you can choose. Every time you make a decision, make a choice, it leads you down a new path, that and any one of those might be equally fulfilling, might be just as enjoyable, might be what you need to be. And Rebecca says, be a first-rate version of yourself, not a second-rate version of somebody else. Yes. So I would agree in that sense that yes, we need to run our own race. In biblical terms, you run your own race, you stay in your lane, right? We hear about that all the time. We can't compare. So yes, but I think that if we're striving to be the best, then we might oftentimes fall short. Because I'm not really the best at anything, even of myself. I'm not the best version of myself, but I can make choices that lead me to be a better person than I am today, or a better life than I have right now, without having to always be trying to figure out what is the best thing in this situation. So maybe there's 5 options, and then you can narrow it down to 3 better choices, and you don't have to worry about the one best choice. Oh, okay. So Rebecca's saying first rate doesn't mean best. So that's an interesting distinction there. So I would love to hear more about what you mean by first rate then. Yes, and Smith Family Ranch. And Smith Family Ranch, I'm sorry if I've forgotten your first name. Can you please tell me again? I like to use people's first names. And Johnson, you guys, Johnson family, you guys are, is it Jen? Is that right? I hope. I really try. Darcy. Okay. Hi, Darcy. Thank you. That helps me out because it kind of, I still don't have a face with the name, but at least like Darcy is a person and Smith Family Ranch is a property. So it makes me feel like I'm communicating with you as a person. Yes, Jen, I got it. Uh-oh. VW Family Farm. Wait. Shoot. I have it written down somewhere too. I'm sorry. I don't remember. Forgive me. I try so hard. You're right. Rebecca says, it means to work towards being your truest self and not trying to be someone else. It means embracing the flaws. I like that. Ben and Andrea, yes. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for helping me out. I'm sorry. It's hard to remember everybody's names, but I want to learn them. Because you guys are my friends. You're my good friends that I shared this kind of stuff with, that I'm learning. Okay, so those were three things he said. You got to get past those. Before you make a decision, you don't have just one best thing. You don't have to find just one life's passion. And you don't have to have it all figured out by the time you're 25 or 30 or 35 or 63, as somebody said. Well, you called me Loretta. That's fine. I go by pretty much that. Loretta, Luella, Lorena, I've been called before. All right. So now that we're not going to do those things, we're not going to fall into those traps, those dysfunctional beliefs, how do we move forward? So I see some of you have said that you're in that place right now. You have to decide what you're doing. Somebody said they're having to give up their passion of horses and move on to something else. And so they're in a decision-making process right now. So let's talk about what you can do. So he said, how many of you guys are familiar with the multiverse theory, right? So like in science fiction and perhaps in physics studies or whatever, they say like there could be several parallel universes, sometimes they're called, right? We've all seen the Star Trek, well, maybe not all, some of you are young, the Star Trek episodes where, they switch universes or whatever, right? So let's just pretend for now that that's real. So how many different life paths can you imagine for yourself? Sliding doors. I love sliding doors. Hello, Jen. Welcome. And now I'm like second guessing myself if she's also Jen. I'm pretty sure Stivers is also Jen, but I could be wrong. We were just talking about names and how I have a hard time with names. I really love people like Karen and Christy who have their names in their channel name. Oh, and Pine Knot Family Farm. Lots of people joining in tonight. All right, so we have a couple new people, or a couple people just joining in. So tonight we are talking about when we get to a point in life where we're at a crossroads and we don't know which way to go. We sometimes may not have even figured out what our choices are yet, and we can be overwhelmed. It can be overwhelming. Do any of you feel that way? I do. I know that when I'm coming up on decision-making process, I start feeling like my naps get a little bit longer. Sleep is my coping mechanism. Sleep is my escape mechanism. When I'm stressed out and we got big decisions to make, I get tired. I guess that's my medicine of choice. Some people, I don't know what you might do, go for a walk or whatever, but it can be overwhelming when you've got these decisions that look so big. And so we're taking most of what I'm talking about tonight is coming from a TED Talk that I watched, Designing Your Life, Bill Burnett. And he is a design engineer team guy from Stanford, professor. And so they've taken these design principles and then why did I just lose my train of thought? Probably because I was reading the chat going by, and applied those to decision making in life. So I see that Jen is talking about she regrets the decision. So we're going to talk about that because he specifically talked about that. So when I listen to this kind of stuff, my personal growth, then I like to share it with you guys. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about that. And Cheryl says, if it's wrong, it's wrong. Just make the decision. Just go with it. So yeah, so that's kind of interesting. And a lot of you are at this kind of crossroads in your life thing. So when you think about that, when you think about how many possible lives could you have had in, think about when you were a kid, what did you want to do? When you were in your 20s, what did you think you were going to do? If you imagine your life now, right? So probably, he said, most people can name like seven different things, right? So so we're going to start with 3. So here's what I would like each of you to do. If you want to type it and share it with each other, that's fine. I'm probably not going to read everyone that flies by on the screen right now, or if you just want to write it down for yourself. So I will wait just a second. I'm going to take a sip of my soda and let you guys grab a pen and paper, and then I'll be right back. I know soda's really bad for you. I give it up and then I start again. I give it up and then I start again. It's not a good habit to have, I know. Okay, so, but you know what it is though? It's Coke with real cherry from Sonic, I'm telling you. And if you have the Sonic app, it's happy hour all day long. Not one of my best qualities, but that's okay. Okay. All right, so now we're talking about, I want you to write down 3 things or type it in the comments. Your first possible future life is going to be whatever it is that you do now, whatever your life is. Mine is interpreting and farming, right? So that's my life, but make it the best life you could have. So in 5 years from now, I am shifting my income producing activities from interpreting to farm-based activities. In 5 years, we're earning enough farm income to pay for our vacation, you know, that kind of thing. And we get to do some of our bucket list things that we want to do, whatever those may be, right? So that's your first one. So your number one thing that you can either put in the comments or put on your paper is what you're doing right now, but a better version of that. Like, what would that look like? So that's one path that you could go. That's possible. Okay, so when you guys have that, then your number two option would be, okay, so let's just say for some reason, whatever it is, you're unable to pursue that life career. And what he said was they have automated that, robots have taken over that, and so you can't do that anymore. You can't, whatever it is. What other thing in life, can you think of one other thing that you've either always wanted to do or maybe you've never thought of before, but something new? So what would I do, something new that oh, you know what I would probably do? I would probably go back to school maybe and study, like I think physical therapy maybe. Something like that. When I interpret physical therapy appointments, I enjoy them. I like seeing the people, like OT and PT stuff kind of intrigues me. So that might be something I could do, and have my own practice. Let's say I'd work towards having a private practice. It'd probably take a lot more than 5 years of school, but I might be able to do it. All right, so that's your number two. So your number three thing now is you have the money is not an issue. You're not like, you know, the wealthiest person in the world, but you have plenty of money to do something, and it's what you would do if you weren't worried that people would laugh at you at, right? So if that was me, I think I'd like to be some kind of public speaker. I'd like to travel around and enrich people's lives in some way, right? So all right, guys, so what's your dream thing? So to me, that's like a really big, scary thing. Like, I actually, until just now, I had never thought about doing that. But I thought, yeah, you know what? If I didn't think anybody would laugh at me, and if I had plenty of money and I could do it, I think that's what I would like to do. Hey, Howie, thanks for joining us. So what about you guys? What's your like wild dream thing that you would do if money wasn't an issue, and if you weren't worried about what anything else would thought about it? You know, what would you think? What would it be? So, all right, and I see people are starting to put some stuff out there. So then what he says is, then you're gonna start just listing, you know, several different things, whatever it could be, right? I love this. I love this. Run an animal sanctuary. I saw someone else help disadvantaged people. Run for president or state representative. That's amazing. Save the planet. So really big goals, right? Move from a noisy city to the country. Nice. Yeah. So now we've got this range of things, right? So we could stay on the same path we're on and just work towards making it better. We can pick this other thing that's impossible, or we could go for this dream, right? So now within those, there's a range of options. So then what the next thing, according to Mr. Burnett, or Dr. or Professor Burnett, I'm not sure what he is, but what his title is that you're going to come up with this range of options of dreams that you have, of things that you could do or that you want to do. And then hopefully you'll come up with more than 3, and maybe some in-between steps. So you want to save the planet, Howie, what's going to be an in-between step for doing that, right? So you have this whole list of options. And then you're going to what he calls prototype it. So he's from the design background, right, where they're designing products and stuff. But he said, in this case, how do you prototype your life? Like, so for me, I just said, like, out of the blue, really kind of surprised myself, that one thing that I would like to do is travel and be a motivational speaker of some sort and reach people's lives in some way like that, you know, maybe podcast or whatever. So in that, then what I do is there's two ways to prototype your life. One is to go talk to people who do that, because obviously there are people out there who are PT and OT. There are people out there who are motivational speakers. There are people out there who are farming and earning their income, right? Those were the three different things I talked about. So then what am I going to do? I'm going to go talk to Andrea and be like, hey, you know, how are you guys earning your money on your farm? Or I'm gonna go to whomever and Kevin and Sarah and be like, okay, so tell me your story. How did this all happen? Or you know, it's someone else. It doesn't necessarily have to be them. And as you start talking to people in these fields, or I go and I find the local physical therapist in town and I say, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time and you know, sit down and just talk to you about how you got started in the field. And that when you have those conversations, that there'll be those moments where it's just like something in you is just like, yes, yes. And if you think about it, I don't know if you guys watch Hey, It's a Good Life. Natalie, she talked about this recently, how about 6 years ago she was over at somebody's house and a mutual friend of theirs was telling a story about how they work with abused horses and at-risk kids, I think, and they pair them together and they heal both the animal and the kid through this program. And that something in her soul just went, yes, that is what I need to be doing, right? And so Mr. Burnett called that a narrative resonance. So when somebody's story resonates with your spirit, that's the narrative resonance. The other way that you prototype your life is in a felt experience. So this might be where I go, let's see, what could in one, I could go, okay, let's say I'm still in LA and I'm thinking about moving to the farm. I go find somebody's farm local and say, hey, can I come volunteer my time and work on your farm for a week? And then I just work and I learn how to work with the animals and work in the garden. And I go, oh yeah, this is really what I want to do. Yeah, right? So that's a felt experience. So you either have a narrative resonance or you have a felt experience. Now, I saw Cheryl said you did that, and I think that's amazing. I think those kind of things are really amazing goals to have. So he talked a little bit about that gut feeling, and he said that actually comes from your brain, like your basal something part of your brain. I'm not even trying to say it because I will mess it up. And that part of your brain doesn't talk to the talking part of your brain. That part of the brain is connected directly to your GI tract, which is why people call it, I had this gut feeling, or we talk about intuition, right? And in the Christian faith, we also talk about being spirit-led. So there's a whole spiritual component to this, that if you're a person of faith, where we add prayer into this decision-making process. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is, for those of you who are not of the Christian faith, this may be an interesting story to you, and I'm going to get right back to his talk, but I find this very interesting. In the New Testament, when the Christian church is just a baby little church, it's in Romans, I want to say chapter 13 or 14, and they were talking about, okay, so here's all these Gentiles that are being brought into the church where these Jewish Christian believers are, and what are we going to make the new Gentile believers adhere to? Are they going to have to be circumcised? Do they have to follow the other laws in the Old Testament, right? And the verse says, it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and to us, and it's the apostles, or it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and the apostles, or something like that, that they would have to follow these things. And there's like, don't eat animals that have been sacrificed to idols, just like a few little things that they needed to adhere to. But I just thought, okay, so the whole future of the Christian church is going to hinge on this decision, the whole Gentile future. And so the apostle said, yeah, what do you think, God? And Holy Spirit said, yeah, that seems good. Seems good. So I love that. And so sometimes when I'm praying and I'm like, all right, God, what do you think? Does this seem good? Does this seem like a good choice to me? And so I liked that verse because there's so many times, especially as Christians, where people talk about, I'm not sure what I'm called to do, or I'm not sure where, what God's plan for me is. And sometimes God's just waiting for you to say, hey, what about this? And he's like, yeah, that seems good. You get a choice. My whole point in this is that you have a choice. Even as a person of faith, it is good to pray. And when you feel that, in the Christian faith, we call that like a hesitancy in our spirit or whatever, listen to that. When you feel that gut that gets like, nope, don't do it. Listen to your gut, listen to the Spirit. All right. Now, okay, so somebody was talking about how they have a hard time making decisions because then they regret them, or they think they're going to regret making decisions, right? So Mr. Burnett in the TED Talk talked about some different studies that were done regarding decision making. So let's say, we're going to go out. All of us we're together in one place. We're together at Baker Creek Spring Planting Festival, and we're like, okay, we're hungry. We got to get out of here. Let's go get something to eat. You want to go to pizza or Chinese, right? There really aren't that many choices around, but we're just going to pretend that there are. And so you're like, really doesn't matter to me. And we're walking towards the car, and I go, okay, let's go to Chinese. And all of a sudden you're like, no, really, I think I want pizza. It's because a lot of times people don't know, excuse me, how you feel about a decision until the decision's made. So a lot of times you're not going to really know for sure until you decide something. So when you have your long list of options, this path 1, 2, or 3 that we were talking about, and the variations therein, and you're narrowing your options, and you're like, well, what if I cross the wrong thing off on my list? Well, you'll know, because immediately you'll be like, oh, wait, that was the wrong decision. That gut feeling, you got to listen to that intuition. You got to listen to that little nudge inside you that's like, or the nudge that says, this one. Follow that intuition. That's part of your emotional health, right? And that's an important part of decision making. All right, and then, so we have talked about these paths. We've got our list of options. We have done some prototyping, as he called it. We've talked to people in the fields. We've done some experiments to see what resonates with us. What then? The next thing is pick something. He has what he calls a bias to action, meaning try it. Try something. Don't just get so overwhelmed with your choices. Don't get so overwhelmed with the options that you don't do anything. Narrow it down and pick one, and then let it go. So he was talking about this study that was done, a graduate level study, and so they had people come in and they had 5 different Monets prints out, and they were numbered 1 through 5. And so what the people had to do was rate them. Which one do you like best? Number them 1 through 5. And then at the end of the thing, the graduate student would say to them, okay, you know what? This is kind of embarrassing, but I actually ordered too many of print number 2. So why don't you just take one home? You can have it. I've got too many 2s and 3s, so you can just pick one and take it home, and it's yours. And so half of the people, they would say, but whatever one you get, that's it. Don't bring it back. You're going to be just stuck with it, right? And so then the other half of the people, they would say, I ordered too many. I've got extra prints of 2 and 3. Why don't you take one, whichever one you want, and when you come back next week for the second part of the study, if you decide you don't like that one, then you can change it then. So then in a week, these participants would return. And so what's really fascinating is that the people that said that were told, okay, you can bring it back and trade it out if you don't like it, they came back, they didn't like the one they had picked. They didn't like any of the pictures anymore. And in fact, they were just tired of the whole process and were not happy about anything. But the people who had been told, whatever one you take, that's it. There's not going to be any exchanging. Just pick the one you want. When they came back and were asked about it, they were like, love it. I'm so happy with it. Thank you so much for giving it to me. And that somehow, that when we eliminate the ability to change our mind, that we will be have a tendency to be more happy with our choices that we make. So I just found that was pretty interesting. Let's see. There's also a thing about having too many choices. They did a study where, you know how when you go to the grocery store and someone will be set up with samples, and they did this one where this person had like 3 different kinds of jam that they were selling, and like a certain percentage of the people would taste it, and then another smaller percentage of the people, like I want to say like 6 or 8% or something, would actually buy some, right? Well, then they came back and they would set up, and I think they may have done this multiple times, I don't really know the extent of it, and they had like several, like a dozen different jam options, and more people would come up and try it and be like, oh, that's really interesting, I never thought about that, jalapeno jam, oh, you know. But then the percentage of people that actually purchased anything went down to 3%. And it's because of decision option overwhelm. There were too many options. There were too many choices. So if you get to that point in your life where you're just like, there's just too many, I just don't know what to do, just cross some stuff off your list. Cross some stuff off the list. And again, you know, well, what if I cross off the wrong one? You won't, because you're going to follow that gut feeling. You're going to sit there and follow that gut feeling. Let's see. So what are you guys thinking? Do you think that this is going to be helpful to you? Do you think that some of these are, you can be able to put, I saw there were a couple of people, Rebecca said you're coming up on 30 and you're feeling like you're at a crossroads. Do you think you're going to be able to put some of these principles into your decision making? And what about you, Christy? And I'm going to read some of the comments while you guys are thinking. Oh, I see. Oh, Tony, ouch. Stitches. That's no fun. Well, you know what you can do? You could probably wear like those blue nitrile gloves, as long as you don't burst your stitches open. Oh yeah, then you say that. You say that. That does not sound fun at all. Oh, and Liz is here too. Wow, all you people in the UK popping in tonight, thank you all for staying up this late to be a part of my live chat. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your time so very much. Bye, Howie. All right. Christy, I'm glad this has been useful to you. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Okay, yes. So there was one other study that Mr. Burnett talked about that I found really interesting, and he talked about the founder of Zappos. It's that shoe company that Amazon eventually bought out. That guy, when he would and part of the hiring process was giving people a test, and they had to rate themselves as lucky or unlucky. And it was like, you know, these numbers are, no, I'm not really lucky at all. And the numbers at the other end were like, yes, I'm very lucky. And he only hired people who were lucky, or who considered themselves lucky. And he said it's based off this study that was done. And he would, in this study, they would bring in people and they would give them like a newspaper that looked like a New York Times newspaper or something, you know, several, like maybe 30 pages long. And the people that were brought in for the study were told, your job is to count the number of headlines in this newspaper, or count the number of photos. Sometimes it was headlines, sometimes it was photos. And I'm going to pause this story because, guys, I'm nearing 50. You cannot make 30 old. No, you just, no. Elizabeth, you just can't. So back to this story. So he would, so the people, the participants in the study would come in and they would have to count the number of headlines or pictures, right? But before they did that, they had to rate themselves like same things. Are you lucky or unlucky? And so as the people would do this, they were told if you get the number right, you'll get like $100. Well, then at the end of the study, they would, get their $100 and go. So the trick to it was that hidden within the stories were little sentences that said, if you read this, you're done with the study. Take it to the person. You're not only going to get your $100, you're going to get an extra $150. So guess what? Guess who saw that sentence or that little blurb hidden throughout that 30-page newspaper? Do you guys want to take a guess? What do you think? The people who said they were lucky or the people who said they were unlucky? Tony says me. I wasn't actually a participant in the study. It's just something that I heard about. So no, it wasn't me. Yes, the people who considered themselves lucky found that in the paragraphs, like hidden within these newspaper articles. And so what they think it is that people, people who consider themselves lucky always have like their options open. Like they're looking for things on the periphery. They're not so focused on the one thing that they're thinking about that they miss the myriads of possibilities out there. So open to see things. That's a good way of putting it. Exactly. So I would encourage you, those of you who are having to make decisions, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're not sure what to do, to, go through these things that we've talked about, make your options, make your best choice you can, pick a thing and then move on. But at the same time, be aware of what's going on the periphery. Open yourself up to the possibility of something else you haven't even thought of. And with that, we got about 15 minutes left. So I want to tell you a personal story about my daughter, Leslie, who is 19. And she is getting ready to go do a year-long internship college program at a church in Kansas City. And she has actually been awarded a scholarship. So they're covering everything, room, board, tuition, books, everything except for $100 a month. So, and it's a whole year program. So really excited for that. And we were in the car the other day and she's like, Mom, I'm kind of stressing out. And I was like, what are you stressing out about? She goes, well, I don't know when this year program is over. Should I go on to college to study education or should I continue on with the program that they have here at that church and do it? Because they have like a 2 or 3 year program. So she's like, should I finish out that program? And I kind of looked at her. I was like, Leslie, that's a year away from now. And so I said, remember a year ago, and it's kind of funny that I'm wearing this shirt because I didn't plan on telling this story, but some of you will recognize the Be the Salt shirt. A year ago at this time, she was trying to earn money to get to Africa, because some of you might remember she went to Africa and served for 3 months at a children's camp there, and so she had to raise money to be able to pay her airfare and stuff, so pay the camp for having her and all of that. And so I was like, you had no idea that you were going to even go to this church internship. You had no idea this church internship was going to offer scholarships because they never have before in the history of the program, and she knows she wants to do it. I said, if you were so worried last year about what you were going to do this year, you would have never made it to Africa. I said, I'm going to just suggest to you that you just go and see what happens, see what God has for you. Go do the program. And because there might be other opportunities you've never even thought of yet. And so I want you to think about, as you're making these decisions, that first of all, life can change. So if another opportunity presents itself, be open to that. Be open to seeing the possibilities. Without having had this live stream tonight, I never would have thought about the possibility that I might enjoy being some kind of motivational speaker. But I mean, it does kind of tie in because on my live streams, I really like to talk about this personal growth stuff. I probably need to come up with something on my own before it would be worth sharing or writing a book about or anything, because so far I just share with you what I'm learning. I don't think I can make a living doing that. I can't, go around and give Mel Robbins talk all the time, or Bill Burnett's, or whoever's charisma on demand, or on command. But when my point is, be open, make a decision, go with your gut feeling, trust your gut, make the best decision you can, move on, let it go. Don't worry about it too much, if it's the right decision, if it's the wrong decision. If it turns out to be the wrong one, you can make a new one. You can make a new decision going forward. I'm not going to say you can change the decision you made, because that happened. You took a step in that direction, but you can make a new decision. I have this conversation a lot with people who are considering homeschooling their kids, because it seems sometimes daunting, and my advice is, you only have to make a decision for this school year. Your child has several years of schooling ahead of them. If it doesn't work, you can go back to school. It's not, and I think that kind of makes us kind of go, oh, kind of releases the tension. So when you have these life plans, know that if it doesn't work out, you can make a new plan. I used to always tell my kids when we were going somewhere, a plan is not a promise. Plans can change. We plan to do such and such, but it's not a promise, because plans may change. So I hope this has been helpful to everybody. And you guys aren't talking very much. What's going on now? I mean, you were a little while ago, but what should I... what else do you guys want to talk about? Hey, Luke, thanks for joining us. Happy lunch break. Elizabeth, did you actually... Oh, not $100, 100 points on the test. Did you have a student actually read it and stand up? All right, and then... Okay, I see some good discussion here. So, Jen Stiver says, I fear the decisions we want to make for our lives will hurt other people. I think that's interesting, because I'm trying to think of a life decision that you could make that would actually harm someone else. Because, I mean, in general, your life decisions are going to be about where you work and where you live, and your homesteading, and so in general, I would think that might be a needless worry. I'd like to talk about you more with that, or talk about you more. Talk with you about that more. I'm not sure this is the forum for it. Yeah, so Cheryl said moving to Scotland hurt her parents. Did it hurt them emotionally just because you were going far away, or did it actually harm them? Because I think that might be a significant different distinction that we need to make. That people's feelings might be hurt, but they might not actually be harmed. Like, were your parents in need of your care and now they are left without care because you moved to Scotland? Were they, and I'm you do not have to answer this. I'm just like throwing this out there. Like, did they have to, now you were their transportation to the doctor every day, now they have to pay for an Uber or a taxi? That kind of thing. Oh, your mom has had some physical ailments, but that was after the move. That wasn't like because you moved. That was a circumstance of life, right? So then, in those kind of situations, I think that's a good time to remember that you can always evaluate where you're at, and is there a need for you to return to live closer to your parents, or to bring your parents closer to you, or do you have a sibling that can help, or is there some other kind of support system in place? They said it was stress induced. Stresses happen in life. I mean, I feel They won't visit you here. That's sad. I'm sad to hear that, Cheryl. That must be a really difficult place to be in. Um, yeah, that's hard because you do want to do right by the people you love. Um, yeah. Christy, how old is your granddaughter? I think, there's there. I'm trying to tread carefully because I don't want to be ugly to people or uncaring or unkind in any way. But you have to make the best decision you can at the time with the information you have, and you're going to have to choose what's right in that moment. So like Christy, if your granddaughter would miss you, but would she be able to come visit you if you moved? Is there somewhere you can move within traveling distance? Yeah. So Cheryl, in that case, I can see what you're saying. Like, they won't visit, right? So that's on them, and it's very hard as a child to, even as an adult child, to make a decision and to say, you are choosing not to come see me. You can't blame me. And even if you only say this in your head, like, we can only own our own actions. We can only own our own emotions and our response to people. We are not responsible for other people's feelings. What I say and do may influence their feelings, and I'm not going to be intentionally unkind or make a decision that intentionally harms somebody else, but I'm not responsible for how they feel or act. And that, my friends, is a lesson I did not learn until well into my 30s. Probably right around age 38, 39, when I stopped owning all of everybody else's stuff. You can't own everybody's stuff. And I saw a question that I do want to answer, and Elizabeth asked, how did moving affect my children? My children were just entering high school age, and it, for a year or two, ruined their lives. They were not happy to move from California to here. They, since moving, have made friends. They have blossomed. They have done just fine. But were it left up to them, we would still live in California. My daughter, who just graduated high school, she spent her spring break in California at our really good friends there. They were really close, like almost like sisters, and so I felt very comfortable sending her to stay with them for a week. And she loved every minute being back in California, but she didn't pay the taxes, and she didn't pay the mortgage, and she didn't see the tension that was in our home because of the financial strain that was on us. She didn't see the physical toll that it took on my husband's body, the job that he had, working in a dark room, sitting in a desk chair at Fox for all those years. So she had a child's perspective. We had to make the decision that was best for our family. We moved to be closer to my family. My dad had dementia. We made the decision that was right at the time for us. Welcome back, Darcy. Thanks for popping back, and you'll have to go back and watch it. We had a pretty good conversation going there for a while. So, I know there are people who don't move until their kids are out of high school because they don't want them to have to, try and make new friends or whatever. They've always only known that one area. And that's okay if that's the decision you make. It wasn't the right decision for us. My father's health was declining. He was diagnosed with dementia. And had we waited, then I wouldn't have had those 3 years to help my mom and to be there and be for my dad what he had been to me growing up. And my brother said at my parents' funeral, or at my dad's funeral. My mother's still living. My brother said when he got up to speak, he thanked my family for moving, and he said that he feels like if we had not moved, that the toll of my dad's declining health would have been so much on my mom that we would have probably lost my mom in addition to my dad. So for us, moving was the right decision. It just is. And that's the kind of thing. And I think not only with moving, but with changing jobs, with whatever you're going to do, you don't want to intentionally harm other people, but you know, the world, not everybody's world revolves around me. Not if I leave a job, they will find someone else to replace me. If I stopped interpreting today, there were interpreters interpreting for the deaf community in Springfield before I moved here 5 years ago. And if I stopped interpreting today to focus on the farm full time, there would still be interpreters interpreting for those deaf people tomorrow. Some of them are better than me. Some of them are not as qualified as me, but there would be someone there. I can't make my life's decision based on the needs, my perception of what other people need from me. Does that make sense? I hope I'm coming across clearly, at least. I hope I'm making sense. So I need that. I need a little bit of feedback from you guys if what I'm saying is valuable and makes sense. Hey, look, Chickenlandia is in the house. Hello. You're coming in right at the end. You're coming in right at the end. I've gone past a little bit, and is it 6:15? Somebody help me out, because I see the timer, but I don't see the actual time. So yeah, I think it must be 6:15. So comments in Central Time. I find it hard to not let my fears control my decisions. Today I met up with my first ginormous black. Oh man, yeah. Yeah, snakes are a hard one. But you know what the thing is though, those black ones, they eat mice. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, Elizabeth. I was trying to scroll on your thing and I deleted it, but I saw it. It said that you left a job you loved because it was taking you away from your kids and family, but it was the right decision. Right. So those are the kind of decisions, like you have to balance, prioritize what are your needs for your family, for yourself, and depending on your familial circumstances. Oh no, I timed her out for 300 seconds. Oh no. Elizabeth, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. I will send her a text later, you guys. I was like trying to scroll it to see it. And if you click on it, then it gives you a little pop-up where you can like block people and stuff. I don't know if I can undo. Somebody says I can undo it. Oh no. Let me see. Let me try and see if I can undo it. I can't even put user in timeout. Hide user, add monitor. Hey. Oh man, there's no option. No, there's no option to let her back in. I will text her. I will call her and apologize. Elizabeth, if you see this, I'm so sorry. I hope it didn't block you from watching. It said that I deleted your message and put you in a 300-second timeout. How many minutes? That's 5 minutes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, she's a good friend, so. It was a total accident. Such a Lorella thing to do. I do stuff like that all day long. All right, I see our numbers are slowly dwindling and we're getting down to I gotta get downstairs and teach the girls class for church. So any other questions, any other thoughts? Anybody want to share anything before we head out for the night? I want to thank you all for coming and being here. It was really a good conversation. I'm gonna have to go back later and read all the live chat. You guys were having a lot of talk while I was yammering on. I gotta see if I can see everybody still. Okay, I'm still in live chat. Okay. I think that's about it then, since I don't see any last questions or comments coming through. Right. So where are you, Chickenlandia? Where are you located? And you know what you could do? You could go on my page and get the notification bell, because it will send you a message, or it should send you a message when I go live. But it's every Wednesday, same time. So tell me what time zone you're in, and I'll tell you what time to hop on. It's an hour ago from now. Courage. I'm glad this brings courage to you. Okay. Oh, you're in Bellingham, so 5:15, so 3:15 p.m. My brother is in Redmond, so I've been in that area. My parents lived in Everett for a while. I have often been in the Seattle area. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and for letting me share with you the things I've learned, and for opening your hearts, and for sharing your dreams, what you would like to do. I can't wait to go back and read. It'll take a while for the live chat to process through, like it takes like half an hour or something for the video to like fully be up in the live chat. But I'm really interested to see what all of you put down as your dream thing that you would do if money weren't an obstacle. So thanks so much for being here, and we will catch you next time.